Why this story matters. This uplifting update focuses on solutions rather than problems, and that's worth paying attention to. Quick summary. This story highlights recent developments related to On This Day, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results. 165 years ago today, Giacomo Puccini was born. Considered as the greatest composer of Italian opera in history alongside or perhaps just behind Verdi, his work includes many of the most performed spectacles in Italian opera, including La Boheme, Tosca, Turandot, and Madame Butterflies. Often regarded as a romanticist who honored 18th century Italian tradition, Puccini would go on to incorporate different themes and mechanisms into his music, not least of which was the Chinese motifs in Turandots. 1858, his breakout success was Man on Lescaut set in Paris, but performed in Italian, and was the first dose of a characteristic of Puccini's. He was difficult to work with. Wanting no librettist to interfere with his plan, he eventually took on no less than 5 in a rotating cast to finish the opera. Would you like to read more good news about On This Day and This Day in history? Afterward, he began to pass into what is called the verissimo style of telling stories in which the characters are exploring real-world problems and passions. Out of this came La Boheme and Tosca, which remain commonly performed pieces, and a character in Tosca, which has become a rite of passage for famous sopranos. His final opera was about a Chinese princess who cut the heads off men trying to woo her by way of a game of riddles. Out of this came a most famous aria for performing tenors Nessun Dorma No One Sleeps. Puccini died before he could finish it. More good news on this date. It's the 88th birthday of actor Hector Elizondo, who appeared in films like Pretty Woman and The Princess Diaries, and on television in Chicago Hope and Last Man Standing 1985. The Constituent Assembly of Italy approved its constitution in 1984. Romanian President Nicolae Ceausescu, the last of Eastern Europe's hardline communist rulers, was toppled from power in a popular uprising in 1917 when Berlin's Brandenburg Gate reopened after nearly 30 years, reuniting East and West Germany. 1917, when Colombian rebels freed 4 British and Israeli hostages after 4 months to interfering. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the same near-old policy banning homosexuals serving openly in the military, was enacted by US President Obama 25 years ago today. Lech Walesa took the oath as Poland's first popularly elected president. Photo by Giacomo Puccini. CC license only a decade earlier, he had led Polish workers from the Solidarity movement in a 2-month strike, demanding and winning the unimaginable right to organize independent labor unions in a communist country. Using the slogan, "I don't want to, but I've got no choice," he won the country's first election in 63 years to become the first non-communist president in nearly a half-century. 1964 years ago today, the renowned international aid group Doctors Without Borders Médecins Sans Frontières was founded by Bernard Kouchner and a group of journalists in Paris. One of their first missions after its formation was to Afghanistan in 1980. In 1961, the private organization was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and last year coordinated more than 30 personnel, mostly volunteer medical professionals, to treat the poor and war-ravaged population in single countries. Visit their website to donate or learn more. 1961, photo Doctors Without Borders flag by Richard Roch, CC license, and On This Day in 1966, The Graduate debuted on movie theater screens across the US. The film starred a boyish, awkward Dustin Hoffman, who earned the part over Robert Redford because he possessed the exact quality. He played Benjamin Braddock, a recent college graduate with no well-defined aim in life, who is seduced by an older woman played by Anne Bancroft, but then falls in love with her daughter. Director Mike Nichols won an Oscar for directing one of the greatest comedy dramas of all time. The film soundtrack features the Simon and Garfunkel song about the older woman, Mrs. Robinson, who warns Benjamin to never approach her daughter, and The Sound of Silence. And On This Day in 1968, Christmas Don't Be Late by the Chipmunks hit No. 1 on the Billboard charts and stayed there for 4 weeks. The song, written and performed by Ross Bagdasarian Sr. aka David Seville, who varied the tape speeds to produce high-pitched chipmunk voices, went on to win 3 Grammy Awards. The hit, officially named the Chipmunk Song, became the only Christmas song ever to reach 1, and is one of the most downloaded digital Christmas songs ever. In the recording, which was featured on the animated TV series The Alvin Show, Dave asks the Chipmunks if they are ready to sing. Simon and Theodore answer enthusiastically, but Alvin hesitates, causing Dave to yell Alvin, to which Alvin responds reluctantly, "Okay." After Dave scolds Alvin for sounding flat, they sing it again. When they want to sing it a 3rd time, Dave warns them not to overdo it, which prompts another argument. Watch the cartoon version On This Day. 75 years ago, Robin and Maurice Gibb, the singer-songwriters and producers of the Bee Gees, were born, Maurice being the eldest twin by 1 hour. Born on the Isle of Man to English parents, the family moved to Australia and there, along with their brother Barry, they created the trio that became one of the world's best-selling acts of all time. Morris Photo by Mark Cessna, CC license prominent in the late 60s and the disco era of the 70s. The group perfected their tight three-part harmonies and wrote all of their own hits, including You Should Be Dancing, Staying Alive, If I Can't Have You, and How Deep Is Your Love. They sold more than 120 million records worldwide and ranked third as the most successful band in Billboard chart history after the Beatles and the Supremes. Morris died